Not sure what you should be fishing with in the spring? Let me help you with the spring bait selector. And stick around to the end of the video because I'll show you exactly where to fish these on a map. First up, that's gonna be Boston and north of me. Right now, this year especially, this winter has been really cold. The water's a lot colder than it was this time last year, so our bass are just barely getting out of winter habits. And for that cold water, I'm always going to a jerkbait because we can get those reaction bites by cutting left and right, but also letting these jerkbaits pause for a long time. As cold as the water is, the longer your pauses be. Next up is that pre-spawn. If you're a little bit south of me and your water's a little warmer and those bass you can see are pushing shallow and really actively feeding, then it's really hard to beat a spinnerbait or a chatterbait. And while a crankbait can also be a colder water bait, if you start seeing bass on beds, pushing shallow, looking for places to make beds, it's really a great time to start throwing a bluegill patterned crankbait. All you gotta do is rip that crankbait through all the beds that the bass are trying to make, because bluegill are notorious for going after bass eggs and bass beds. So if a bluegill is ripping through those beds, a bass is gonna hit it. Now you may have noticed my glide bait sitting here on the chopping board this whole time, and a glide bait is a great option through the whole spring. Bass are always looking for big meals in the pre-spawn to get fat from the winter and getting ready for bedding season. In that colder water, a glide bait that floats or suspends, you just work it like a jerkbait. Get those reactionary movements and then let it glide and just let it sit there. And then as we get into warmer water and bass and we're actively hunting and moving around, then we can cast this out, do a slow retrieve, get that wide S glide and work in a few chops. And I mentioned that bluegills love attacking bass beds. What's better than a bluegill shaped glide bait to go after those beds? Now let me show you where we're fishing on Fishbrain. And here we are on Fishbrain. And as always, all these green dots are other people's catches. I have some catches in there. But for now, we're gonna turn off these catches so I can show you this depth chart, right? So what we're looking for is, as you can see on this bigger pond or lake, you're gonna have a lot of these cuts that are shallow and go to deeper water. If your bass are in colder water like I am in here in Massachusetts, what I'm looking for are these steep drop-offs. So as you can see, it goes from shallow to 14 feet really quickly, but also closer to these shallow back parts is where I'm gonna be fishing that jerkbait or that blade bait, working up from deep to shallow to find those bass. And as we get into that warmer water and bass starting to move around, if you get some of that spring wind and you have some wind blowing wind into one pocket, so let's say the wind has been blowing into this little pocket here, that's where I'm gonna be throwing that spinnerbait or that chatterbait, because all the bait fish will be pushed into there. Or if you have somewhere where rainwater gets pumped into that body of water, let's say there's one back here, you want to go right to there. After some heavy rain, go right back in that pocket, because the bass and the bait fish will be there looking for easy meals. So hopefully that helps take some of the guesswork out of what to throw this time of the year. So what are you waiting for? Get out there.